Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a bit about my last week in games. And as always, we'll start with EVE Online, where I spent probably a little bit less than average time in EVE Online last week. And well, I did a bit of exploration, got a couple of good sites and a couple of good drops. I do feel like there's basically more other activities for players to do at the moment, which gives us a little bit more breathing room in the exploration sphere. And I'm at least finding more data sites, more combat sites, more stuff that can potentially yield us really good results in Isquise. So it's pretty interesting to see how things have an ebb and flow in EVE Online basically all the time. I also managed to join the mass test. That video will be coming out next week. It was a mass test focusing on the frigate escape bay, of course, and it was pretty cool to see just basically a big battleship brawl where everyone was supposed to be in a battleship, and then of course have an extra frigate in the escape bay as well. It was really cool to see. Of course, someone did organize quite a few praxi with smart bombs, which made it all quite chaotic, but overall I had a pretty damn good time, and from my perspective everything worked as expected. The one big drawback I'm going to say is that you lose all velocity when your battleship explodes. It basically drops your frigate at 0 velocity in the middle of the battlefield, and yeah, something that I was fearing when I read the announcement was that yeah, smart bombing could really be a very strong counter. So could bombs to this frigate escape bay, but overall I managed to get pretty quickly at speed every single time, and I managed to stick around a little bit longer in that frigate. So I think that the main purpose of this is to keep players on the field a little bit longer, and that it will succeed in doing that. It'll also increase the cost of battleships, basically making them sort of a bigger resource sink as well, which I think is pretty good for the game in general. And after that I also had to organize a bit of a retreat. Basically I got some of the more expensive assets out of my structures because I have been war decked. We'll see how that works out though. I'm not too worried at this point. Strangely enough, I've been doing like some patrols in stealth bombers around Dital, and I have not spotted a single war target in the first few days of the war deck. So we'll see how it works out. I am not too worried myself. On top of that, everything that is not really necessary, especially the more expensive BPOs and things like that, have been moved out of the structure, so the risk is absolutely minimal. And if there's anything that happens there, I will of course keep you guys up to date. Hopefully I'll be able to grab that footage when something, or if something does happen. One of the reasons for me playing a little bit less EVE Online is Planetside II. I have been revisiting that game and actually been having quite a lot of fun. I've been doing my best to play it every single evening, try to earn some certificates, try to explore the game a little bit. Favorite class, the engineer at this point. I've been playing with the Vanu sovereignty, and my first unlock was like an automatic turret that goes after infantry. Very good, of course, to help you defend points or try to capture points. If you can finally get control of the point for just a little bit, deploy that turret like in a nice little corner. Whenever they try to assault that point, then it really helps to get those kills more quickly and effectively. We also give ammunitions. That's basically useful across the battlefield as well. One thing that I'm still struggling with is, of course, that I'm still playing with the basic weapons from the engineer, so it takes quite a bit of time to unlock the necessary certificates there, but lots of fun. Also a free-to-play option on Steam. It was not a big download at all, and it was pretty smooth also. Getting into combat has been made very, very easy. Just press a button and 10 seconds later you're teleported to the nearest combat site, or the I think it's always going to be the continent or the planet with the closest, that's the closest to like a timer. There's timer stuff there that I don't fully understand, but sometimes you really get into that grand scale warfare in Planetside II. There's been a couple of play sessions where basically the Vanu had this massive tank army that rolled up the field through several bases until we finally had organized resistance at a base, and then they started coming in with their tanks. It was just, the scale of Planetside II is still super impressive. Is it fun, well, if you're looking for that real skill based action, then that is of course going to be a little bit less there. Quite often you're overwhelmed just by the sheer number of players around there, everything that's happening. It doesn't always register that well, and you can basically be mowed down before you could do anything. You do get that feeling from time to time. On the other hand, if you can get into the right position in a good defensive spot, you can sometimes mow down half a dozen enemies yourself as well, and especially when you get like a spawning sunder in the right place, the right hidden spot, so that you can help the assault. You can really feel like you're making a massive contribution to the attack as well. So I am absolutely having a blast with Planetside II. That series is going to come in like the second half of March, and yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna spend that much more time in the game at this point. Only 1000 certificate unlock in like basically those 10 days, I would say, that I've been playing Planetside II, so it does get a little bit grindy at some point, but overall, yeah, very fun experience. And if you're looking for something completely different, a free-to-play experience, I can definitely recommend it. And then for a final game, I also spent a little bit more time in Dota Underlords. That got a pretty big update with basically the first season that has been launched. So now you get a pretty big reward track where, well, they're trying to monetize the game at this point. You do have to like buy some sort of Dota Underlords currency in order to get all of those rewards unlocked or something like that. Don't fully understand how it works just yet, but it's still Dota Underlords, and for the knockout game mode, for me, it's still a lot of fun, even though I'm playing that from a fully free-to-play perspective at the moment. The meta has shifted quite substantially. They have made quite a few big changes there. They basically got rid, I think that they're all jailed for this season, of these scrappies that basically regen health and can potentially, if you get 6 of them, regen your entire team. That was probably the most imbalanced bit in the last or before the patch, I should say, and those are basically gone. No more Sniper as well, who is like really powerful, one of the go-to picks, especially when you get like a scrappy start or something like that. Even with the Rangers, he's also, or Hunters, they're called in Dota Underlords, he's also very powerful. So yeah, there were some balance issues, I would say, around Scrappy. I've also made quite a few videos actually showing how powerful that is, and that has changed completely. There's a lot more happening on the board as well, because they now have like a summoner clause, so that every summons that they make gets like 20 and then 40% extra damage or something like that. And well, you can get quite a few summoned units on the board if you focus on them. Very interesting stuff. A couple of new metas as well, which is like not exactly the ranger stuff, but not exactly sure how the mechanic itself works, but from time to time all of your units are going to try to focus on one enemy. It's not Deadeye, because that's always the lowest health target, but very interesting as well. And then there is one synergy that has become like you need 3 of them, that is really new, that gives like a chance to perform extra damage that is very difficult to focus on, but if you get it, it is super powerful. So I would say right now, if you want to explore Dota Underlords for the first time, it's the right time to do so, because the meta is in full flux. I've been able to go very far with summoners, but then also with mages as a counter to summoners. Deadeye is a big counter to summoners as well, with the Bloodseeker that can just take down those low health summons with just a couple of hits, and he can just keep chaining them, stay on the board, and then eventually do a lot of damage to damaged heroes. So very strong counter to that as well. Assassins has worked out, Hunters has worked out, Druids, Knights have worked out. So yeah, it's really very interesting at the moment in Dota Underlords if you're looking to explore it in a fresh meta that is not so established, and with basically a big reset that happened with the patch and the launch of the first season. And that was my last week in games, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.